virtual community. And it is indeed a pleasure to be with all of you for another morning, powerful morning. Wherever you are on the planet, you're alive and you're breathing and you're here with us, and we are blessed. So today, we have the distinct pleasure of being with five fabulous, phenomenal human beings who are going to be doing part two of Man Up, Men and Men of Color at that, demystifying myths about manhood. And we ask that you invite others if you are in the space so that they can be here with us and enjoy and engage with us this morning. We ask that you grab pen and paper so you can take notes because they're going to be dropping the science and nuggets for us today about manhood and specifically Black manhood. And we also invite you to be open minded and just co create with us because even though they're co facilitating this morning and sharing what they know and the knowledge that they carry, you also come in with the knowledge that you have about what it means to be a person in the world and a human in the world. And then they have the overlay of being a Black human, male person, cisgendered male in the world. And that's an important distinction to make this morning. So I'm going to introduce each of them one by one. I was messing with them this morning and just sharing that we're going to do this NBA style. And I'll call each of their names, and we're all, as a community, you can come off mute and be like, because we have some MVPs up in here. Everybody is a starter, part of the start. There's five of them, and they're all on the starting five this morning. I don't know what their basketball game is, but I'm just declaring that they're the MVPs and they're the starting five. So let's start with the youngin in the house. And, everybody give a shout out and make some joyful noise for our brother Xavier Beckwith. And everybody,
Hey,
Woo!
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, hey, hey.
hey,
Got my
Xavier
jab
in the
step.
house. Yes.
Got going. Good morning. Good morning. I appreciate the intro. I am the youngin in the group. Just celebrated a birthday, thank God. Last or December 11th, turned 31. So excited about that. My name is Xavier Beckwith. I'm a coach, founding school principal, and a lifelong learner. Excited to be here. It was a woman that brought us all into this world, and it was a woman that brought us to this space to talk about manhood. So just want to bring that into this space and excited to be here.
beautiful. I love Sagittarius fire up in the house.
You already know.
All right, next we have our beloved love doctor, Yao Frank Love in the house. Everybody give a shout out to our brother Yao.
Dr. Love is
Go.
out.
Yay!
Dr. Love.
Hey, Dr. Love. What's
Agitator.
up, Dr.
Oh,
Love?
y'all. Good
Whoop,
morning.
whoop, Dr.
Good morning.
Love.
I ain't got nothing deep to
Whoop,
say
whoop.
right now. I'm happy to be here.
You ain't got to be deep all the time. That's exhausting.
All right.
Just be
Perfect.
you. All right. And next on deck, our most favorite, not of all, but our most favorite, I'll leave it at that. Our support and administrating, our awesome facilitator and friend and lover of all things women. I love that he is this way. Our brother John Carl Martin.
Hey,
Hey,
Martin.
John.
John.
Hey.
I love it.
Love you, love you, love
My
you.
brother. Yes, John. We
Yes,
love
John Carl,
you.
yes.
Yes.
LeBron James.
Thank you, everyone. My name is John Carl Martin. I am an author, an artist, a minister, a healer, and a lover of my woo community. And I'm happy to be.
Cracking somebody up, John. They just giggling away. And we said at the top, I think that was Sahu Speed. We said in the prep that, well, Nija said, she was like, I'm overwhelmed. There's just so much Black maleness in the space. So I'm just telling y'all, get your stuff together. Grab a towel if you're gonna be sweating, and if you're leaking from anywhere, just grab what you need. Because yes, there's five brothers up in this space, and I'm about to go off camera after we finish this, so you will only see them. So ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to make assumptions. Just prepare yourself. 90 minutes of lusciousness and awesomeness and power in the house. So just prepare yourself, stable yourself, like anchor yourself, tie yourself down to your seat if you have to. Next on deck, next on deck is my beloved brother, my partner in psychodrama and just supporting the community in their healing and transformation. He prefers to be called Joshua, and don't get that wrong. No Josh, no JoJo, no Shasha, no Shosho. Joshua, his full name. I love, love, love his spirit. And hey, Joshua, everybody.
Hey,
Hey,
Joshua.
Joshua.
Hey,
Good morning,
Joshua.
brother.
Yeah.
We love you. We love you. We love you, Joshua.
Good
Yes.
morning. I can't stand it. Please, please, please. Bring me some more.
Yes, Joshua.
Joshua.
We
Let's
love
go.
it.
Let's
Hey,
go.
Love you. Love
let's
you.
get some
On demand. Wow. My hype
Wonder
too.
Man. Yeah.
How's everybody? Good morning. Hailing from Baltimore. Peace and blessings to everybody. I'm an experiential practitioner, racial justice advocate, and psychodramatist like Shawnee. So I'm glad to be here. It is early and I'm on an active food today. All right.
That's right. We invite all tomfoolery into the space. Thank you. Joshua foolery.
Okay, I was about to say, be warned.
All
Yep.
right. One more. Without further ado, he's probably the center. He could play the center because of height, and also he can do anything he wants to do because of that voice that he has. So my brother from another mother, my love, he is my best male friend, and he is just a delight to have in any space because of the words that come out of his mouth and just the energy that he carries. So without further ado, our brother Leslie, Asim, Shannon, come on
Let's
in.
go. Let's go.
Hey, good morning, Brother Leslie.
Hey.
Good morning.
Mm.
Morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning.
Good
Beautiful.
morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Bravo.
Good morning,
Good
Leslie.
morning.
Yes.
I am
Everybody,
so humbled and
folks
I'm
are smiling
grateful.
this morning.
Morning, Woo community. Peace and blessings on all of you. I'm so grateful to be in this space with you all this morning. I am the founder and servant leader of Our Day Insights Ministries, which is a mobile ministry. I am a grief recovery specialist, and I am just here and so excited about the opportunity to share this platform with these phenomenal brothers. And welcome to all of our beloved and beautiful sisters. Thank you so much.
All right.
Hey.
So here we are. And I'm going to ask each of you to answer this question, and then I'm going off, but I'll stay on to just put it forth. Um, I want to start with you as little boys, and just starting from your in the beginning story. And I'm just going to ask the team if you would, so that we monitor the sound and go into the chat. And I'm asking the community if you can unmute as much as you can, and then less if you can mute because there's a little bit of background noise. And then I'll ask you to share last if you could. And then brothers on the panel, if you can mute when you're not speaking, it just makes it easier to manage the sound. So there's a terminology called Black boy joy. And I want to ask each of you if you experienced it or not. Like, I don't know how you grew up or where you grew up or who raised you, but do you understand the concept of Black boy joy, and did you experience it? And if not, what was happening that prevented it? And if so, what was present that allowed you to experience it? And just asking for succinct answers, but authentic and grounded answers, and transparency, which you brought into the last session. So reactivating that formula. Black boy joy. Did you know it? Do you know it? If you did, what was present? If you didn't, what was present? So I'm going to say sayonara, and from here you will hear my voice.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. So, um, I'll start with this one. It's something that I really been experiencing a lot more as an adult than as a kid. First, I'll say I think the operative word is black, right? So it's black boy joy. Have we ever heard of white boy joy or Hispanic boy joy? So it's something about black boy joy that's different, and I think it's based on the assumption that black men, black boys are stoic, emotionless, not able or not willing to one experience a certain type of joy. And so I started experiencing it as I got older because I didn't understand what black boy joy was. Now I know what that feels like, and for me it can be a moment where um, uh, where something, sorry for losing my words, it can be a moment where uh, I get a certain sort of nurturing conversation from someone that I care, that I love about. And I can experience Black boy joy because I might not have had those experiences or moments growing up. And so I just find that more so now as an adult, I'm making those connections.
Beautiful. Joshua?
Yeah. So, wow, that's a loaded question, Shawnee, right off the top.
That's right. You know me.
So if I understand correctly, um, well, I'm just going to say what those three words mean to me. And I think I can sum that up with just the experience of being the youngest of 6 children, 4 older brothers and 1 sister in the middle. And I believe I have experienced what it means to be Black, to have Black boy joy. And one poignant um, example that I can cite is that when I was in high school, my parents had separated. The older siblings were at dad's, and the younger ones were at mom's. And I came to visit my brothers one day, and there was some resentment that I experienced, and there were some words exchanged. So in the realm of um, you got it, we don't, right? And that was my first sort of experience with, wow, there's something different. I'm different. Like I've been treated differently in this family, and at the expense, it seemed like, of my older sibling. So it was kind of a wake up call for me in the moment. So I'll just put that out for now. And oh, the other thing I'll have to say, with a name like Joshua and traveling throughout the community and meeting older folks who would automatically recite the song, Joshua fought the battle of Jericho. And I'm like, what is, like, so much attention on me from the elders. And that seemed kind of special. So I'll just leave those two right now.
All right. Would love to hear from Brother Yao.
I'm not familiar with the term Black boy joy as a particular, as a like a standard phrase of some sort, but I can tell you that I had a ball as a kid. I had many opportunities of joy.
Oh, I hate this.
Yao, unmute yourself. Sorry.
Can you hear me? Hello? Okay. Um, I had many opportunities of joy when I was a kid. I had plenty of friends, and one of the experiences that me and my pop look back on is when I was 1980 or something like that. He woke me up like midnight. Yeah, wake up. And he said, come on, let's go. And we went to see this movie Outland. Sean Connery, Outland, at a midnight show. Yeah, we had a ball. It was just fun, and it's a good memory to this date. Nothing particularly fancy about it, but we laugh and joke about it even now. And that was a joyous moment, one of many.
Thank you. John Carl?
Yes, thank you. So I've never heard of the term Black boy joy. Actually, I looked it up to see what it meant on the internet, what it said there. And I grew up in Barbados, and it's a little island and mainly Black. So, it was always joy. It didn't matter what color or how it was described. I grew up, I had a fun childhood, and, growing up on an island. I don't know if you can imagine, but, we got the beach covered with, surrounded by nature, and, food is free because it's all fruit trees and stuff. And that was joy. You know, I think of joy, and I just think of growing up around all of nature and what it meant to me, and living in the sunshine versus this cold weather I'm experiencing here in New York City. But it's for a purpose. And, even as an adult, after I moved to New York, moved to the US, I guess I brought that joy with me because I never felt any distinction, any different. I always felt, the same and oneness with everything.
Okay, thank you. Asim?
So the term Black Boy Joy is something that I was just recently introduced to. It's a new term, a new concept for me as well. And so if I were to answer the question, did I experience Black Boy Joy growing up? I would say that it probably happened in increments, whereas first of all, let me just deal with the reality in terms of Black Boy. Um, Honestly, growing up, I hated the skin that I was in. I grew up in the '60s. A lot of the images that I was present to, especially watching television, were white images, and and then being dark skinned, growing up, especially in East New York, also having the name Leslie, just created a lot of internal turmoil for me. So the times that I experience, and I would say boy joy, would probably happen mostly when I was on the baseball field, because growing up, I was a lover of the game, and those were some of the most joyous times that I had, because I was able to just be free on the field, loving the game that I experienced, and then having the opportunity. One of the greatest aspects of my joy was I come from a huge family. My father had 9 brothers and 4 sisters, and we're very male dominant in terms of um, uh, males versus females in our family. And one year I was privileged to play on a baseball team that was made up of all of my cousins, with the exception of 3 players. And we had an opportunity to play against our fathers. And that was, again, a signature moment in my life. But overall, I would say boy joy was, in the Black boy joy was not something that I fully experienced growing up. Thank
Mm,
you.
thank you. And so, just based on what Les just shared, um, what's the impact on a Black boy when joy is absent from his life? And I'm not going to call on all of you because there'll be layers to these questions, and each of you will get an opportunity to share. I'm going to start with Joshua, and then I'll ask Xavier the question because I think you're the closest to the Black boy experience as far as age. But what's an impact, Joshua, when that's absent from a Black boy's life?
Yeah, so the impact, I believe, and I was just going through my mind, going back to when I was practicing as a therapist in school. The boys, um, Jawanza Kunjufu, who's a prolific educator and writer of Black boys from Chicago, wrote a book about the 4th grade syndrome for boys. And there is this point where boys, um, they start to get, they're growing. In the 4th grade, there's this shift. And we know also that the prison systems are um, developed based on 3rd grade, and Brother Xavier, you may know this for sure, based on 3rd grade special education status of Black boys, right, of inner city predominantly, right? But anyway, Jawaza Kunjufu talks about this 4th grade syndrome, where there's this noticeable shift in their affect, their behavior, and how they show up in schools, to the detriment of them for the rest of their educational lives. So I've seen that. I've seen it with a group of students who I started with in the 2nd grade, and we took class pictures. And they, as 2nd graders, they were just full of, life and energy. And each successive year, there were more and more absent from the pictures, and they sort of slumped down in their chairs and stopped smiling. So that is an impact that I witnessed in the group that I was dealing with professionally. So I'll just see, I'm just seeing that in my head just now, Shawnee, and it brings sadness to my mind, to my heart.
Shay, thank you. Xavier?
You mind posing the same question again?
Yes. When there is an absence of joy, what is the impact?
When there's an absence of joy, what is the impact?
Of black boy joy, what is the impact?
I think first up, Frank actually kind of alluded to it, to one of the problems, which is, and I think John too, even to some degree, black boy joy is not something commonly, known. It's not a common sort of moniker where you're in a group of, or you're in a room of black men and you say, "Hey, what is black boy joy?" That's something that I've come to know as an adult. And so, when you posing that question, I think instinctively I'm just asking myself, or thinking about moments as a kid where I know I didn't experience any um, or moments where I didn't experience joy. But I think it's kind of just in some ways, it's like what child, what kid doesn't experience some sort of um, some moments where it's not joyful. It's just different when we're dealing with black boys, um, given the some of the circumstances that Joshua sort of started to allude to, just because family dynamic and um, uh, on average, when we when we're looking at black boys in some of the schools that I've seen and worked with, and working at an all boys school, um, I know firsthand what it looks like on a young boy's face to have to leave school and go to see his father in jail every day for 2 months straight. A father they knew would have a 10, 15-year sentence, and that impacted that child daily. That impacted the joy that child was able to experience, because he, in that moment, as a black boy, was not able to sort of experience the sort of joy I think that his peers might have been able to experience. And so they're just things that happen in the lives of young black men that make it difficult to one understand and delineate this black boy joy versus this uh, joy that mostly everybody else experiences. And so I think as we, well, I'll say personally, as I think get older and have more of these experiences and redefine what it's like to feel that black boy joy, and as an adult rather than a kid, I think we'll kind of come to certain um, common truths about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So Les and I have known each other, Asim, have known each other for, I think, over 25 years. We performed together. We were involved with a movement called Ma'afa, which means great calamity, like Holocaust, like the Black Holocaust, and the commemoration of the Middle Passage and what has happened to our people. And so there's a statement, I don't know where it comes from, but we've said it for years. And it's pain unspoken becomes anger unvented, becomes rage released, becomes violence. So I'll say this again: pain unspoken becomes anger unvented, becomes rage released, becomes violence. So I'm going to ask Yao if you can speak to what comes up for you as you hear this statement. How, as a Black man, are you related to this statement about pain and the formula that leads to violence?
Hmm. I'm not sure where to even start. I'll just start talking. The it's important that I mean, I don't say this from just being a Black man. It's important that we all are in touch with our violence, and but uh, violence isn't just um what most people think of as being violent, meaning hurting somebody physically. Excuse me. Violence is pushing our agenda. And that's pushing our agenda without just simply being invested in creating a win-win scenario with everyone involved. And so that's so much bigger than being a male to me, and so much that's one of those things that I think it's important that everyone pay close attention to and be sensitive to. Just us pushing our agendas in the many ways that we do it. So
Thank you. Les,
Shawnee, repeat the question.
I know that you know this declaration. You've said it over the years. We've said it together as part of community. And so, how does that land on you? Where's that present to you for you? This formula, because what I see is a formula,
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a formula. When we look at this, pain unspoken becomes anger unvented, becomes rage released, becomes violence. The formula speaks clearly to the fact that in order for us to really get to the root causes of the violence, and as Brother Yah said, it's not just predicated on a physical act, but it's also predicated on when we deprive or deny ourselves the right to just give voice to our own, experience. I didn't realize until later on in life that in relationships, whether it be with yourself or whether it be to another person, that silence is a form of violence. And how many of us have quieted ourselves for the lack of, I mean, for just using an opportunity to not ruffle feathers or to not stand out. One of the things that I've recognized as a Black man, especially, again, being a dark-skinned Black man, being a tall and a broad Black man, sometimes I can walk into a space and without opening my mouth, present an intimidating presence. And so, not wanting to be too loud, not wanting to be, too intimidating when I do open my mouth. So how many times have I done violence to myself, over the years by staying quiet? How many times violence to a partner because I did not speak up in a relationship when I needed to speak up. So the reality, as I've examined this over the years, is when I look at the rage. I remember when I was in therapy, one of my therapists said to me, "Do you know that you protect people from your rage?" And that is because of the fact that I would remain silent or I would have these huge outbursts. And as I've examined it over the years, what I've come to discover is that all of it is rooted in pain. So if we're going to deal with violence, if we're going to deal with rage, if we're going to deal with anger, we have to start by what's hurting us. And so I've learned to ask the question, not what's wrong with me, but what's happened to me. And if because I can ask that question to myself, then I'm able to ask it to other brothers and sisters, not what's wrong with you, but tell me what's happened to you. Because at the root of all of it, again, is pain. It's hurting people hurt people.
All right. So, Les, you mentioned something about the question, not what's wrong with you, what happened to you, and that comes from the research and the study around ACEs or adverse childhood experiences. So, let's move into that. What is, and I'm not asking Asim yet, but Xavier, what is hurting you? What happened to you? Because you mentioned in the chat about young boys not being able to express or identify pain, and Les mentioned silence and what it can do and how it can impact. And once again, in the study of ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and I know you work in schools and you're an educator and you're around young Black men all the time. And so I'm asking you, as all of you have been young Black men, and that those young Black men are living inside of you right now. And what happened and what is hurting you? There's one thing you can share, because just for the sake of time, and we didn't say this at the top that Xavier has to leave if we're not complete by 8:30. So just want to let the community know. So Xavier, if you could answer the question.
Yeah, so I'll start it with building off what Kathy just said, which is, she asked, does it always manifest outwardly? She's talking about violence. And so that answers your question for me in some ways, because um, with growing up single father, three older brothers, one younger sister, we all had different dads, we moved around a lot. Um, Went to, I think, 5 different schools from K through 12. I'm sorry, K through 8. Um, and my experiences growing up were that of what some would say a typical Black experience of when you are raised without a father. There's certain things that when someone says, "Hey, I grew up without a father," immediately there are thoughts that come up about perceptions about you, about what you know or don't know. Um, and so my experience with violence was in anger, and what the things that happened to me was very different. I was a very angry kid, but I didn't express it. I held a lot of things in, and when I did express it, it would be moments of I don't want to say rage, but doing things that just weren't healthy, whether that's punching a locker or just doing something that I shouldn't have been doing as a kid. And then for high school, it was a very different experience than my years before that. I went to all Black schools, to a predominantly white school, white private school, provided me an opportunity to every day I have to ask myself, how am I going to address the feelings that I'm getting when every day I'm reminded of how Black I am, when every day I'm reminded and experiencing things that as a Black man before that I never experienced. So before that experience, I was able to express violence or something through fighting or through doing so, just those sort of things that I think we've all seen in our young Black men. But when you are in an environment where someone walks up to you and say, "Hey, because this person is Blacker than you, does that mean you have more Black pride?" That's a literal question that I got while I was after I transitioned to this school. And so having those moments every day, whether it's on a football field or the basketball court, reminding of your Blackness, like that teaches, and it almost forces you to learn other ways to express your violence, and you learn ways to communicate with your words. You learn ways to think critically, and learn how to navigate relationships, and then leverage those who may not agree with you. You learn so many different skills that you just can't account for just by being in a different space, just by doing something different. And so, to go back to what Kathy was saying, does it express outwardly? There are moments where um, things do express outwardly, but the point I wanted to get at is that it's something that can change over time based on the things that you have experienced. And so for me, my experiences of change, dealing with diversity, dealing with um, loss of people that I love, whether it's a grandmother, whether it's my 50, 16-year-old cousin who was shot and killed, or whether it was growing up and being in drive-bys, or those, like my life is a testimony and a testament of what it really means for a young Black man to have life teach and grow them to a point where they can communicate emotionally effectively and talk about what happened to them. The question that you just asked me. So thank you for that question.
Thank you for your candid and transparent answer, Brother Xavier. John Carl, um, what happened to you and what has been the impact?
Uh, what happened to me? Let's say growing up, looking back now, I can see where I felt disconnected, a bit of abandonment, misunderstood, of course, because growing up being hearing impaired, and um, people not, or friends and family, whoever's around, not really educated enough or being able to understand or look for the signs that, you know, there may be a different kind of ability, you know, a lack of something. And growing up hearing impaired, I definitely experienced that. Now, with me growing up versus my daughter growing up, who has the same type of impairment, but just on one side. At 3 years old, we were informed. Her mother and I were informed by the doctors that she does have a hearing challenge. You know, she can't hear well on one side, which led me to understand and go back in my life that that's some of the challenges I was dealing with. So you know, sometimes it being judged a lot, being told who you are when you know, it's clearly not you. You're being difficult, you're being challenging, being whooped. And, you know, it's something that I see happen to a lot of young Black boys too, where, you know, they grow up in an era where, you know, that vicious beating, you know, beating with that almost seems to come without end. And, you know, it's almost like you know, you think about it now, like, wow, you're like beating the manhood out of that boy, you know? And then you can't really express that pain, you know, because then you're not being seen as a man. But, you know, so I got whooped like that as a kid growing up. And my challenge, you know, it was something medical. And, you know, I had to practice a lot of forgiveness and dealing with that pain that was turned inward that was mentioned earlier, you know, pain unreleased is pain turned inward, and becoming, you know, angry with yourself. So, you know, it goes forward into learning how to love myself, also, you know, which is why, like, you know, I desire to be like the happiest person in the world and just give love, you know, because the importance of mentorship. And, you know, we can go deep. I don't want to veer too far away from the question, but all of this, you know, alludes to really my journey, what happened to me.
Yeah. Thank you, John, for your share. I'm going to pivot a little bit because I think it was Brother Christopher, who's in the community right now, supporting the conversation, talked about depression. And, what I wrote back in the chat was that, I'm a psychotherapist by training. I consider myself to be a healer, despite that training. Well, not despite, in addition to that,
Shawnee, cut it out.
yeah, born um, to be a healer and doing that every day. And in my work, encountering young men of color and adult men of color. I was just talking about this the other day that I've literally been in session with men who wanted to cry, but had been trained so diligently by society, by family members, and by themselves to not cry that the tear ducts were almost like atrophy. They couldn't work. They were like, I want to cry. The tears are right there, and they weren't able to do it. So, depression, I feel like Black men have been denied the ability to express that, to own that, to address that, and been dismissed when it's been spoken about, that that's part of the reason why the violence or other things occur, or the silence. And so I'm curious, Yao and Joshua, about this whole piece about depression and whether brothers of color um, can express like what's really going on with them and what has happened to them without making themselves targets.
Um, you know, your question is a big one. I can speak to just a feeling of depression when I felt like I just haven't been able to make a move, where I wasn't being heard, when I wasn't able to motivate myself or to do the things that I thought were important to do for whatever the reason. Um, and so to that degree, um, I can definitely speak to the experience. The part of part of the challenge I found is being able to just simply say, I'm dealing with depression, or I'm feeling depressed to somebody, to be able to notice that that you're experiencing that. And that's not, I see that, in friends. I see that in, women. I see that in so many people around me, just as a general landscape. And it's not all bad, when we can put a finger on it, when we can say, yeah, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm stuck, or I'm challenged, or that sort of thing. It's an opportunity for us to help each other, to grow one another, and to to extend a hand. Uh, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Joshua?
And Shawnee, can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, I mean, I said a lot before the actual question, but just the denial by being denied access to a space of like, I am depressed. This is my experience, like the world not allowing Black men to have that.
Mm.
And then just the projection that, oh, it's not depression. You're just an angry person. You're rageful. You're this, you're that, and not allowing for the emotive aspect of it, or maybe the challenge chemically or whatever it is. I don't think Black men are allowed that in this society. And I just wanted you to speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it within my household. I've seen it professionally, and within my household, there's drugs, alcohol usage, domestic violence, um, um, mental illness, undiagnosed, untreated, um, and so forth. And then, most therapists who, particularly social workers who go to social work school, like myself, to sort of deal with some of those issues and try to help others deal with them as well. And so I sort of took on as a practice as a social worker, in the past, of being, someone who dealt with boys, and men, right? Um, and sort of had a specialization in that way. Um, I was myself someone who was very introverted, kept my feelings within, and if I wasn't so big, you wouldn't know that I was in a room, right? So I'm 6'3" and two 80 to 90, and I'm called the gentle giant, right? And I can handle myself physically, but emotionally I was stunted, until I started getting, didn't necessarily do therapy, but I started being around a different crowd, started, working, played sports. Sports really saved my life, like from the streets for real. But as a practitioner, I saw that in the homeless where I worked, um, and over the years, that age group of men were who showed up in homeless shelters got younger and younger. So they sort of age out of foster care, and the next institutional space for them is homeless shelters, right? So I really saw it. It's prevalent, and now I do work online with men in an experiential manner as a life coach, and some of those issues show up in regardless of age, still to this day, regardless of culture, color, and so forth. So there's this commonality of suffering, throughout malehood development.
Thank you.
Shawnee, can I answer that real
Yeah,
quick?
sure. Mhm.
Yeah, because it's something that I have a very unique experience with, because it's something that growing up, in the Black community, we all know that if when something happens with your leg or with your ankle, we can see it, right? If you punch me in the chest, I'm gonna go like this, and then I'm gonna punch you back. Um,
No doubt.
but right, or you might not even get to punch anyway. Um, so if I have a cut on my arm, that's something I can see, something that's visible. My mom, I can get a Band-Aid or something. But what happens when I wake up and my head is just feeling cloudy and I just wake up with a rage and I don't know why? What happens um, when I'm a young boy just I'm walking down the street and someone says a word that triggers me into a rage. Those sort of things are could be indicators of things that should be addressed at a younger age. And the reason why I wanted to come on and say this is because it's something working in education that I see often, where there's not enough emphasis or true investment in the Black community into exploring how do we address the muscle to me that matters not the most, but that matters more than what we think. And that's the 6 inches between our ears. How is it that we can get our families, our Black community to to uh, to learn more about and then explore the options of uh, of getting our young Black boys and Black girls um, assessed when we are feeling like they're having moments that we as parents or as families can't figure out. And so for me, growing up hearing um, pray to Jesus and go to church any and every time you are feeling a certain way. Um, that was habitually what I always grew up to know. And then when I found God for myself, I know that He gave others gifts and things too. And so when I was forced into having I say forced because it was strongly recommended at a young age to go into counseling. Um, I learned the benefits in ways that I would have never experienced had it not been introduced and had I not um, fought through the process, because it is a process. So I wanted to just bring that in because it's something that I've dealt with personally, and even as I'm looking through the call and understanding that there are other men, Black men on this line that have probably a wealth more experience than I do, and probably have so much more to offer in this conversation. But at the very least, I just wanted to be one to speak on depression because it's not common in the Black community.
Ashe. I wanted to ask Les to come in because you mentioned something, Xavier. And I know you're a man of faith, Xavier, but I love that you were able to speak very openly about the struggle with that. So, less as a minister, a pastor to folks, as somebody who's been in ministry as many years as you have, how do you reconcile that part of the scriptural um, foundation, part of the foundation of the Black church has been Jesus, and I know not for you, but for many churches, the Jesus doesn't look like them. Like, how do you reconcile or support when folks are saying just pray it away or just call on Jesus to address trauma, rage, pain, racism, like all of that? Like, how do you negotiate those spaces, being who you are as a minister?
I want to respond to that with one word: struggle.
Got that.
Um, uh, Struggle, grapple. You have to wrestle with it. My father in ministry, Bishop Youngblood, one of the things that I've heard him say time and time again is that he has uh, a Jacob faith. And if you know anything about Jacob in the scriptures, Jacob wrestled with God. And I think he has given all of us who came under his tutelage the same right to wrestle with God, because some of the things that we've learned early on, like for instance, growing up, my mother went to my first and only other pastor before Bishop Youngblood and said, "I'm concerned about my son because he doesn't believe in God." And one thing that I realized was that it wasn't that I didn't believe in God. I just had questions that my mother could not answer. And so getting into the faith and that door opened up for me through primarily through the ministry of St. Paul, through the tutelage of Bishop Youngblood, and then through my own just ability to process, because I look at life through the lenses of psycho-spirituality. For me, it is looking at what I am responsible for, what I can and cannot do, what I do have the ability to do, and then the things that I just have to lean and give over to God because it is just beyond my reach and my control. And so one of the things that in terms of my faith formation and its evolvement, how I see Jesus today is very different than how I saw Jesus 20, 30 years ago. And one of the things that I recognize is that I don't just see Jesus as somebody who, as we in the Christian faith, see that he is the master over life. He is the Alpha and the Omega. I also see Jesus as somebody who mastered life, but also teaches us how to master life. And so I look at those things. I look at some of the things that Jesus even gave himself permission to grapple with. And I think sometimes because it's been presented Jesus in his deity, we don't always look at Jesus in his humanity. And one of the most profound lessons for me was looking at Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane and how he struggled with moving towards the fulfillment of his purpose. And in there, he gave himself permission to grapple with some things. He talked to the Father about finding another way to go about doing this thing that he was called to do. So to the point that he had to go and spend I want to say, because the first time he went away, he spent an hour before he came back to his disciples, but then he went 2 more times. So I want to say he spent 3 hours in prayer, 3 hours grappling with this thing that was so challenging to the point that he was sweating tears or sweating drops of blood. That's how much he anguished within himself, and he gave himself permission to give voice to that. That lives for me. And so even when we look at our faith, sometimes we look at our faith and think that our faith silences our voice. We think that our faith is something that we just give to God and that we don't have to take personal responsibility in that process. And I've come to understand that that's not the case at all. So we have to struggle, we have to grapple, we have to ask the questions that most people don't want to ask. We have to tell people, no, it's not just about leaning on God. It's also about trusting that God's going to give me what I need to get through this particular moment. So and I could not do that just with my understanding of scripture, my understanding of God, my understanding of Jesus. I also had to go sit my ass down with the therapist and ask some questions and review, some real deep aspects of my life that were very painful, that I could not find the answer in God. I could not find the answer in scripture. But once I was able to process it and come to an understanding for myself, then I was able to find a scripture that related to my process. But it wasn't until I gave myself an opportunity to have that process. So I hope that's helpful to somebody.
Absolutely. And
Hallelujah.
what you're speaking to can be applied to any faith walk, any spiritual
Any.
discipline. There's sacred text, there's doctrine, there's principles aligned with any and all. So we're not just speaking about folks who believe in Jesus Christ. Whatever your faith journey is, universal beliefs, whatever it is, that the integration of the earthly, therapy, um, meditate, whatever it is, you can integrate those things and apply them to your practice so that you can grow and transform and heal. So I want to
Shawnee, can I just say one more thing before we move in regards to that?
I'm going to ask that you hold for a sec because I
Okay.
want to make sure that we bring in other folks. There's a lot going on in the chat, just based on what you and the other brothers have said. So I would love to hear from Brother Christopher or Brother Jomo in this space, because I've seen that you have been contributing to the conversation greatly. as we've moved through the session. And also, before they come on in that order, Christopher, if you're willing, I would like to say that it's 8 o'clock. And there are some, because it's a Tuesday morning, that have to transition off the line and go to work, or maybe, set it up so that their children can be in remote schooling, whatever it is that you have to do. We thank you for being in this space, and we acknowledge that you co-created the first hour of this conversation with us. And we just acknowledge you for just your partnership in this process. Have a blessed, blessed day. The team will put in the contact information for the brothers if you want to catch that before you leave. We are just so grateful to the Wake Up Everybody community with supporting all of us with our ascension, our awakening, and our transformation. So, Brother Christopher, if you can unmute, because there were several gems that you dropped in the chat. All that I would ask is that if you can align it with what we're currently talking about, if there's something that you want to contribute so that we don't go back, that we just continue to go forward in the conversation.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Christopher Dadafumi, glad to be here. Good to meet everybody, have an opportunity to speak. Yeah, I think that, wow, Sean, you asked me to align it to where we are in the conversation. I got like about 12 lines of notes from previous things talked about. So let me try to sum that all up and say that I am, what's coming up for me right now is that I am a sexually fluid bisexual Black man. So I am not on this space as a cisgender straight man. And I wonder about what we offer and what are the offerings for the young man, the young boy in his joy, who is not about sports or not about some of the things that we traditionally consider to be associated with masculinity, and how the needs of those young boys are addressed, who often drop into depression, often drop into alcoholism and all kinds of behavior because of finding no place to be within our community context, which is very narrow, so oftentimes around sexuality. So that is something that's coming up for me. And the other thing I wanted to say was just that I did appreciate, I'm not going back, Shawnee, I did appreciate the initial conversation about joy, because the word that was used in the chat was about interrupting some of these things. And there's a way in which our joy is interrupted at a very young age. By very adult circumstances and things that we have to deal with that are associated with what Brother Asim was talking about in terms of racism and social determinants and toxic environments and these kind of things. We lose that opportunity to have to experience our joy of just being a kid, just being alive and loving life, because now we have to deal with our father coming home angry as an alcoholic and angry and pissed off and all kinds of other things like that. So I really enjoyed this conversation, and love to see it expand beyond kind of heteronormative ideas about masculinity and what young boys need to grow up strong, because what we need also is a hug and to be loved, and that is very, very important. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Powerful, Christopher. In the first conversation, because this is part two, and I didn't do it, this is on me, I shared that this is a very, not one-dimensional, but specific conversation to cisgendered heterosexual males. And so thank you for that tap on the shoulder for me, because that's important to say, because we want to be inclusive in this space and create equity. So I appreciate you coming in a space where you don't really know folks and just being you and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom in this space. Yeah, we talked in the last session about how heterosexual men, like how these brothers show up inside of conversations and relationships with men who don't identify as such. And, a lot of Black joy, boy joy, has been killed off by the very thing that you talk about. And folks have been forced into a closeted life that creates depression and addiction and all the things that you named in the chat, because they can't express themselves freely and inside of the bodies and the humanity and the sexual expression and all of that they have been gifted in this world. So thank you for being you, and thank you for being present. All righty. So Brother Jomo, if you would unmute yourself, because you also said some things that I think are important to illuminate and verbalize in the space. So if you would.
Good morning, everybody. I just, I echo much of what Chris said in some ways, and also, what I was articulating around the word interruption. Um, for me, that's something that it shows up very significantly today, even as a child, definitely, and the time and the space that we take to be able to listen to one another. It's often said in communities that in Black communities, I hear it a lot. Oh, men don't have a lot to say. Black men don't have a lot to say. But as I've gotten older, I've recognized we have a lot to say. I'm reading right now C.L.R. James, The Black Jacobins, and he's talking 1789, how Black men would talk all night long, amongst ourselves. So this is something that's been historical, that we have consistently had a lot to say. And I know that it's allowed in some spaces, not a lot. Even today, it's allowed for Black women to have words. And ultimately, it comes down to, for me, just realizing I've had to realize that I have a lot to say, and when conversations are bubbling that need to be discussed, really taking the time to have those conversations and setting some rules and setting the tone myself. And then in addition to that, letting others know, okay, look, we're going to hold space for you. It's a skill. It's a skill that has to be cultivated. That's all I'm going to say right now. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Jomo. Um, one of the things that came up, and I want to hear from the brothers, from me. Well, two things. One is how I was a child, and I can only imagine what brothers have experienced. I was told to go sit my ass down, often, be quiet. One of you mentioned, I think it was John Carl, that talked about the whoopings, the beatings, the abuse, however you want to call it, that was trying to strip my voice. And I was always very intuitive and very vocal as a child, and it was viewed as disrespect. So I'm curious, from the brothers in the space that are on the panel, like, how was your voice robbed, if it was, and just what was the impact of that? Your expression of self. Um, as Black, if you understood what that was, because I don't remember knowing that. I just remembered negotiating the world. It wasn't explicitly said. And I'm kind of sad that I grew up in a house where my Blackness was never discussed. But what I want to speak about is your voice. Were you able to express and be you, or were you stopped from doing that, and the impact of that on either level? Full expression or none at all, or someplace in between. Yeah, I would love to hear from you to start us off. And then Joshua, I think you unmuted. I'm not sure if that means you want to share.
Yeah, that's good.
There were times when I was a child where I was told to sit and hush, and I think that was perfectly appropriate, and I'm fine with that. And then there were times when I got to express what was on my mind. I talked, particularly, I shared a lot of ideas and with my father, and there were many. It was most often men that I was sharing ideas with, going back and forth with. Sometimes it was even arguments. And when I say arguments, I'm not saying disrespectful arguments, but just push and pull. And that's how, it's kind of how iron sharpens iron. And I appreciated that. I didn't see that as being quieted when I was eventually or at some point told to hush. And I ain't have a problem shutting up. And I think that's appropriate. The balance is appropriate.
Thank you. Joshua?
Yeah. So I don't recall explicit conversations around being told to shut up, sit down, but I was intentionally, for myself, didn't speak much. I mentioned earlier that if I wasn't as big as I was, you wouldn't know I was in the room. I think being the youngest and watching all the stuff my older siblings did caused me to shut down and shut up and be quiet and fly under the radar. So I resorted to, you know, my arts and crafts, and later into sports, where you know, I grew out of that. Um, there was another point I wanted to make. Oh yeah, just in terms of explicit conversations around blackness and what that means. Never had that until I went to college, right? Um, and just got turned on. I mean, I went to a white institution at PWI, and really got turned on to this conversation around where we are, where we fit in this country as a person of color. And you know, not putting anybody else down, but I'm certainly am not going to put myself down or my people down, right? So I really developed that. Came home, and it didn't fit. It didn't fit within my family, and I use this analogy like I'm the felt like the thumb on the hand of all the other siblings, right? Everybody else look, operate, think the same, and I'm this opposing, you know, have opposing views on life, have opposing ways that I interact with even God, the last topic we talked about in spirituality, and essentially got blackballed within my family, right? Because I made a spiritual choice that was in opposition to the way we were raised. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Ashe. So let me pull in some of the commentary from the community, and then Les, I know you wanted to say something earlier. I don't know if it's past the time or if it can fit into what we're talking about now, voicelessness or the presence of voice for brothers. Um, this chat is moving so quickly that I was about to read something and it just moved. So let me ask the team to pull that up and to share, because y'all are in this, and I thank you for the co-created energy. The chat is an entity of its own. Um, so Nigel, if you could come off and share, there was a few uh, comments up that just moved as quickly as I was trying to read them. So Les, are you ready? You want to share as we figure that out?
So I think my response does go, it fits into just the whole issue of silencing and losing your voice. And I want to go back even to my early church experience. And I didn't realize this until I actually got older, that when I circled back, I was so pissed with church and church leadership, choirs, because when I was about 14, I remember sitting and listening to this song. And it wasn't until I got older and I reflected on the song that it made me mad, because there was a song that we used to sing, and the lines were, just forget about yourself and concentrate on him and worship him. And what I reflected on in terms of and how it ties into the whole issue of your voices being silent. There were times that we were introduced to Jesus, and the emphasis was to get to know Jesus. And I felt insulted after a while, where it was like, well, how can I get to know Jesus when you have a responsibility to help me to know myself? And so to hear a song that explicitly told me to forget about who I was, I felt insulted, because how can I forget about somebody that I haven't even come to know yet at 14 years of age? And I tie that into, it being imposed, upon us by adults who also circled back. And, when we had an opportunity to give voice, and I agree with y'all 100% that that's something that should be balanced. I don't think there's anything wrong for someone telling a child this is not the time or the place, but then also juxtaposing that with, okay, well, now this is the time and the space for you to say what needs to be said. And so when you have these things that are imposed upon you and you are trying to discover who you are, even in your Blackness. I grew up in the height of the civil rights movement in 1963. And so I came into the world with a sense of a Black consciousness just by way of the times that I was born into, but yet not given the space to offer a critique about what I was experiencing because I was a child. And, you know, we were told children, stay in your place, you know, speak when you are spoken to. But I had views, I had vision. And one of the things that I believe that has done, it has hindered me from being the complete and the full visionary that I know that I am, because those visions were suppressed. And because I thought outside of the box, even in my own family structure, you know, you get dismissed, you get neglected, you know. And so, you know, I was looking at that, and that was the main point that I wanted to make in terms of how that one song had so much impact on my life, because I felt like this is so unfair that you're asking a young Black boy who does not even know himself to forget about himself and concentrate on somebody else. And that was one of the other issues that I had even in my own family, was the fact that I grew up with this sense of comparison. You know, why don't you be like? Why don't you be like? Why don't you be like? And I was a young adult when I actually came back at my mother, who said to me one day, why don't you be like some? And I said to her, I said, Mom, I said, what is the problem? I said, you're always telling me to be like, I'm your son. So if I'm your son, but you're telling me to be like somebody else, then the real issue is not with me being like, but it might be what you and daddy could not do in terms of, I mean, I literally said, but I was an adult. You know, so again, it's all of these things that play an intricate role in our lives. And I sit here today at 56 years of age, knowing that I have so much to offer to the world, but still pushing through the things that were suppressed in me. And especially because I was taught to forget about myself and concentrate. I was compared, you know. And of course, you know, you live and you learn, and some things make more sense in your latter years than they do in your earlier years. But in your earlier years, you don't realize the damage that it can cause along the journey. So thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to pivot and also just ask all of the panelists if we could keep the share succinct, because Xavier is going to be transitioning off at 8:30, unless you shifted something in your schedule, Xavier. I'm not sure. Go ahead.
I'm
You
saying,
were on.
about a couple minutes.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So, Sahu Speed, I see your hand, and I'm being very, very selective. I want to make sure that the brothers, because this title is "Man Up," men demystifying myths about manhood, and I see the women are going in the chat and sharing, and I'm just inviting you to listen up, ladies, because we want to make sure that the demystifiers and the folks that are sharing about the experience of manhood are actually brothers in the space, not taking away from the women. One of the things that was mentioned in the chat, and there's so much, like I've seen all of these awesome shares. I'm like, where do I go? We may have to do a part 3. So one of the things that was mentioned in the chat was about communication with intimate partners, and not just intimate partners that I, in this case, we're talking about heterosexual relationships. Um, Speaking with your partner, your intimate partner, as a man, and feeling not heard, feeling silenced in those conversations. So I'm curious about where brothers are at with this. And also, I want to actually talk about intimacy and sexuality and sensuality. So let's start with communication with women. And I want to make sure that we're being very, very conscious of how we've been uh, acculturated, indoctrinated with the dynamics of communication, and how very white or Eurocentric those dynamics can be. Like even with the way we use dialect and negotiate space and language as people of color, it's also the overlay of whiteness is there as well. So, and then Baba Irwin also mentioned even how we negotiate our spiritual beliefs and practice have made and I don't want to misquote, but patriarchy is all up in there, control and dominance and stuff like that. So I think all of our communications are infected with that and infested with that. So communication with women in intimate partnership, communication with your daughters if you have them, communication with your sister friend, your sister and friends. Like what has what has fueled how you negotiate those spaces as men? John, I'm going to call on you. And then Xavier, if you could speak.
Well, I can speak on this one.
Okay.
Okay, so the first part of the question, Shawnee, is we're talking about communication.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so okay, so I'm gonna go back just one little bit because it goes back to the interaction with your parents, with your peers, and being told to shut up and not being able to express yourself. And communicating with anyone goes back to being able to express and communicate with yourself. So if you're going through pain, as we talked about earlier, and you desire to communicate that, and you're not allowed a space to communicate that, you're going to have difficulty when it comes to communicating as an adult. Whether you're fronting it when you're talking to your boys, or with your significant other, you're not used to opening up. And going back to little black boys, we have to provide that space for them to open up. And I believe one of the brothers asked earlier, what are we offering? And we have to offer that mentorship and leading by example, being an example of what we know as men that is going to encourage or lead the way, being a light and leading the way for younger boys, younger men who need to see that balance, that well-balanced example. You don't have to be too hard or express that physical strength in order to show up as a man. Because a lot of it is fronting, it's masks that we're wearing. Mm-hmm. So when you are allowed to be vulnerable and open up as a boy, going through all the way to manhood, it creates that space.
Sure.
And it's about creating the space, communities like this that we as leaders can come on a panel and just show examples. Mm-hmm. So I believe that's what's going to improve the communication, whether that's platonic or sexual or whatever it may be. And I'm complete.
Thank you. John, you used the word allowed to do so. Allowed. I thought that was an interesting choice of words. I'm going to transfer or move over to Xavier just with that word in the space and see where it goes. But Xavier, if you would share.
Yeah, it's the perfect intro to I think what I'll start with. And so there was a time in a relationship where I knew there was a moment where I knew for me it wasn't going to happen, and it was when I used the word "shut up," right? And so why is that important? There's a whole narrative I'll get to. I'll shorten it down. But when I knew, or when I got to that point where something happened for me to say "shut up" to a woman, when I was raised by women, and 90% of those in my family, I feel like are women. And so for me, certain things in my interactions and engagement with women, there's certain things I had to learn as a man that just weren't part of who I am and who I was. And there was a moment where I had to realize that I can that was something that got me outside of myself. And so going back to what John was saying in terms of understanding what it is we allow and don't allow, I had to acknowledge in that very moment, because I didn't like the trigger and the feeling that I had inside. Because if I can go there, I don't know where to go. And knowing what I've seen growing up, knowing what I've experienced growing up, that has informed how I interact and engage. not just in intimate relationships, but also in friendships and partnerships. I feel like there's a certain level of, I don't want to say decorum, but consistency in how we communicate with each other that should be present. And what that means for me may mean something different for someone else. Um, and so I wanted to bring that into the space because it's something that I've had to process and adjust on in so many different ways. Like growing up in a black community, and then going to a completely white environment, and then kind of like Joshua going to a predominantly white institution for undergrad, and then stayed there for my master's, and then um, those experiences really inform how you communicate, but it also informs the communications you expect um, in a very healthy way. So I don't do the whole yelling and the up and down and the I don't, because I saw it every day growing up. Right, it has nothing to do with that being bad or wrong for the people who do it, but because I saw it growing up, I don't want to see it. Not in my daily life, not in my relationship. Because if we can't communicate or discuss any sort of conflict, there's no chance that we're going to last more than a day. As a friend, as a partner, as a relationship, as a business partner, and so yeah.
Thank you, Xavier. Joshua, you want to weigh in?
Yeah. Wow. So, and once I had no voice, I've been speaking to that all morning here. But then when I got my voice, it became problematic within my first marriage, right? And I have all daughters, right? So I intentionally, once I found my voice and started speaking um, directly to the things I liked or didn't like or wanted or didn't want. For example, that when we ate dinner, that the television is not on, right? I sometimes had to work 2 jobs, and when I came home, they had already eaten. Sometimes I would approach the door and the television is on, and when by the time I get in, the television is off and everybody's quiet, right? So, um, gaining a voice can be problematic as well when there is a larger voice present with your partner. And so we struggled with that for a number of years, and eventually led to, a toxic environment. Not because I was speaking up more, but it was my presence. I found value in who I was in this relationship, in this partnership as a father and dad. I mean, and husband. So, uh, relating to my daughters, I learned from them, really, and just became curious about how um, to operate, how to be with my children, because I didn't want to upset them. As I said before, I grew up in a dysfunctional family. So I had to straddle the lines in terms of when to speak, when not to speak, when to say, when to take a stand for what I really believed in, and to just let things slide off my back like a duck and don't give a right, at times, right? So that's my experience with communication, and getting into a new relationship. Oh man, where we could actually talk through difficult moments is very powerful, and I'm blessed at this point. Thank you.
Ashe, thank you. I want to share as a sister that because of my own pain and trauma, I experienced sexual trauma when I was very young at the hands of a couple of different men, and men that were like family men, not related by blood, but related by like chosen family. And so my relationship with men was tainted by that dynamic. And then also, I made up a story that men were dangerous and that I had to survive them rather than be in relationship with them. And so imagine being in relationship as a wife, because I got married when I was 19, very young, not mature, and very angry and rageful. And so our communications were like warring sessions, especially when I felt dominated. Because for me, it was like being dominated when I was sexually abused. And so I had to do some heavy lifting emotionally and spiritually to undo that. And I find it rearing its head every now and then I can catch it. Um, but I'm also very conscious of epigenetics and the separation of black and brown women from enslavement and just all of the layers that make it difficult for us to negotiate relationships without that warring space being present. So I would love for one of you to speak to how trauma colors our relationships and how we have been taught to be adversarial and sometimes enemy like in relationship as men and women, if and not necessarily aligned in co-creating. So anyone who wants to speak to that, please do.
I can
So,
jump in.
one sec, just I know we just heard from you, Joshua. So like one of the other brothers, if you would. Um,
I can jump in. There's a few things. One, I just was just like well, not three anymore, but 2 in the morning I was up watching um a documentary on Quincy Jones, and Quincy Jones spoke about his traumatic relationship with his mother. He really didn't know what a mother was, and he didn't have a healthy relationship with her. I believe she was schizophrenic, and so he felt as though that had a tremendous impact on his marriages. He had maybe 3 or 4 of them, and so it's funny that we're talking about this right now, and that's one piece that comes up. The other is, I believe I believe it's important to, as we look at our relationships, as we look at the push pull, the violence, if you will, that comes up and exists in our relationships. They can be there's so many ways to interact um, with that dynamic that exist in, really at some level, most relationships, probably 95% of relationships. And it's not the the their challenges embedded in those, period. But I mean, part of the major challenge is the lack of understanding of the work that has to happen when we're challenged. Many of us seem to think like we shouldn't be challenged, or this problem shouldn't exist. And if the problem shouldn't exist, this isn't the relationship for me. Because if I was in a good relationship, this wouldn't exist. And I challenge that. Most, if you have an understanding that says there will be challenges and we'll work through these challenges, whether it's violence, and physical or non-physical, many of these things can be worked on, worked through, worked on, period. Um, if we begin to look at it as though they can be worked through, and if we begin to look at it as though there's something here that I can do to make a difference. But when we relegate it to a certain category that says violent, and if it's violent, then you got to jettison the relationship or jettison the person, and we put labels on our relationship: toxic and violent, and whatever the label is, to justify releasing them. Those are their own challenges. And we get to see that my partner is a reflection of me. I'm a reflection of my partner, and we can work through whatever it is we're working through together. Um, you were sent to me for a reason. I was sent to you for a reason, and we can work on this. And if you think about it, my conclusion is the only difference between two people who are together for 2 years and two people who are together for 50 years is the people who were together for 50 years decided to stay in a relationship. We don't know what they went through. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know what their challenges have been. We just know that they stayed. That's all we know. That's all we know as two people, as an onlooker. So
Yeah, thank you. One more voice. And once again, just as succinct as you can be, because we're at 8:35, and I want to make sure that we get to at least one more question, and then all the juiciness that you have for the community as far as special offers. So, Asim, you planning on speaking now?
Yeah, I just want to just quickly and briefly say that trauma, and thank you, Yah, for your comments. Just very insightful and very profound. Um, I think that trauma plays a unique role um, in all of our lives to one degree or another. I think the greatest danger of the role of trauma in our lives and in our relationships is when we enter into them and don't acknowledge the fact that we've gone through some form of trauma. I've learned that transformation only happens through complete honesty. And we have to be able to enter into those spaces, into our relationships with other people, recognizing that I come to this table with some stuff that's still unresolved. And the space has to be safe enough for me to be able to share the fact that this is what I've gone through. I've been privileged to be open and honest about that in any of my relationships that I've entered into. Um, and even now, to the degree that I'm able to talk about these things with my children, and especially, with my daughter, it's important to recognize and be open about the impact of the things that have transpired in your life. And I share this all the time in terms of my trauma. The greatest aspect of my trauma started in the womb of my mother, and just by the mere fact that she was able to tell me at 33 years of age that the whole time she carried me, she felt bitter, unloved, and not wanted. So the fact of the matter is that the trauma for me was growing up in a hostile, growing in the womb that was a hostile environment that was not nurturing at all, and that felt very isolating, not just from my mother who was carrying me, but from my family outside of that who was awaiting me. And that was confirmed by one of my uncles, and this was just maybe 2 or 3 years ago, in terms of how my mother positioned herself when she was carrying me versus how she positioned herself when she was carrying my brother. So because I'm so much aware of that, it helps me to understand how I show up or how I don't show up. And I thank God that I'm at a place now in my life where I can give voice to that, in the hope that as I'm expressing it, my significant other will understand it and take that into consideration. Because I'm going to close on this note, because I saw in the chat earlier, a sister was raising the question, well, what can mothers and partners do, in terms of helping brothers as we grapple with, the significant aspects of our lives? One of the things that all women can do is offer your son, offer your man, offer, your brother a space to just simply be heard, without criticism, without analysis, and without judgment. Just be heard. And that's so important, because there's healing in listening. Thank you.
Yeah. I want to read something that Baba Irwin put into the chat. And it's moving quickly. Damn it. Like I can't catch it. So Baba, if you could unmute and just say what you just put in the chat about like attracting like. I love that. I speak about that often. I definitely want to hear your voice and your take on that. And before we start to close out.
Thank you, sister. Blessings to all the peoples. To be real quick and to be fair, Brother Asim is a sacred mentor of mine. We share space. So this has come from years of dialogue between he and I and other brothers. I'm just going to read it from the quote. I respect the premise, but would like to contribute to the energy of like attracting like. As your vibration shifts, your relationship to self and everyone in your life shifts. If there is a resistance to quote unquote the work, love quote unquote is often or may not be enough as or as effective as the courage to sit with and accept and commit to naming and healing the reality of what Brother Asim is sharing around being born between piss and shit. Right? We come into this bad boy, with a lot of things, and there's a conditioning that happens, a romantic conditioning that tells us that what you were born into isn't real, right? It doesn't name it. No, you need to do this. You need to search for this romantic Hollywood Disney thing, right? In reality, we have to honor those who came before us, the conditions that they went with, so that we can sit with ourselves. We can be present with ourselves without performing or escaping. And what Brother Asim said, if you can just witness, if you can just listen to that, it will shift, it will change, because so many of us are conditioned not to name it. We have created cultures around not naming it. We've created cultures around what it means when you do name it, right? To be bitch made is something that all of us have heard. And at the root of it is don't name that stuff that you feel it, right? So to be able to hold space to name it and transform that culture of silence is a revolutionary act that may change a lot of your relationships. Some people may not have the space to hold that, but you got to fight for you.
Thank you, brother, so much. So powerful.
Powerful.
One of the things that I learned from myself, and I said it earlier, was about how my willingness to look at my own rage, my own trauma, my own fears, and actually not just look at it, because we have this whole fallacy: when you know better, you do better. That's a damn lie. And when I when I took the action to do better, I did better. And just owning and being responsible, and I attracted the very energy that I was looking for. Men are dangerous, so I attracted dangerous men. Men are unsafe, so I attracted situations that were unsafe for me and imbalanced for me. And I could blame and shame and project and lie and deny, but that would keep me stuck in a toxic situation and in my own of shit and piss, Baba Irwin. So I thank you for that. And one of the things that I told my family, the women in my family, is that we have 3 M's that we manifest that make us sick: issues with money, issues with men, and issues with mental health. And all of them swirled around one another. So thank you for that share. How we're going to close out is in 2 ways. I will pose a question to the brothers for each of them to answer. Get your 30-second answer ready, because we can't elaborate. And once again, I guess we're going to be coming back again in 2021 to have the part 3 of this conversation, because there's never enough time. Um, and then the other piece is to share like what the special offers are that you all have for the community, so that the community can continue to grow and transform. So, question: I can't remember who sings this song, and I know people will tell me. I don't know if it's Sam Cooke. Y'all will put it in the chat, but a change is going to come. I'm a transformation girl, so that's just where I come from. So a transformation is going to come. How will you bring it, brothers? How will you bring it? Because you're all conduits for it. So rather than talk about it in general terms, how will you, as purpose-driven individuals, as leaders, as thought healers, all of that, how will you bring about the transformation? And just name one thing that you will bring to the world that will create the space of transformation for Black and brown men, and then as a result, the community at large. So Xavier, let's start with you.
I believe that your purpose is always connected to your passions, and that your passions essentially align to what it is that you're supposed to be doing here on this earth. And so, my commitment is to, now that I've developed and have come to my passion, and knowing that my gift will make room for me, I'm operating in that daily. And so my impact to not just my community, but to the education community is utilizing all the experiences that I've had, good and bad, to inform the decisions and how I interact with the families that I serve. So that's my daily commitment, and that's my daily transformative tool.
Beautiful. Brother Yao and then John Carl.
I'm releasing 2 books soon. One is the first is going to drop around February the 1st. Relationship conversations you don't want to have but should anyway. And the other shortly thereafter, 25 ways to be loving.
Ashe. Thank you. John Carl and then Joshua.
For me, it would be a message of recognizing your vibration, your frequency. That's how I identify my world is the thing that I practice most, and recognizing how that aligns with you, your frequencies, your words, your emotions. If you're angry, you're going to attract more angriness. Like our brother Baba was talking about, like attract like. So just identify your energy, and you don't have to be angry or feel hard. It's all about balance. So recognize that frequency and energy to bring balance to your life, and what you put out, you'll get back. So vibrate on the energy of love. That's the energy of the universe, and I'm complete.
All right. So I'm just going to ask that you say one specific way that you will do that.
One specific word.
Way that you will do that. You spoke generally to the community. What's way you're going to do that?
By reflecting that, by showing up as that. So reflection.
Okay, thank you. Joshua and then Asim.
Yeah, so Shawnee, I am a bad coach, life coach. I consider myself to be that, right? Bad, like Michael Jackson bad, right? But I am nothing if I don't continue to sharpen my sword with other men of like minds, right? So I will continue to raise the ceiling. Thereby, my clients can continue to ascend higher and higher, specifically by being a participant, not a leader, but a participant in other men's groups. I will continue that. I've started, and it's been so valuable thus far.
Ashe, thank you. Asim.
One of the ways that I intend to be an agent for transformation is to continue to stand in the fullness of my purpose as a healer, and specifically enhance the work of my grief recovery work, uh, in terms of just offering that to community to help us to heal from the losses that we've experienced. But fully, I want to close on this note. Um, I was given 7 ancestral names, and my goal is to stand in the purpose of those names, as Joshua just said, spending the rest of my life trying to grow tall enough to wear that crown. And so my name is Abdallah Chianisu Asim Moyinda Ade Ashael Yabez, which simply means I'm a servant of God, um, offering a God and light, protecting and defending while on a journey towards royalty made by God, birth through pain. And as I stand in that, that is my offering to the community to be that healer that God has called me to be. Thank you.
Okay. So, family, here we have it. What is today? December 22nd?
22nd.
22nd. 2-2. Like, yeah. Um, just here at 8:49. You got it here in the Wake Up Everybody community. These brothers speaking candidly, vulnerably, and transparently about their journey as men in the world, and offering up an opportunity for you to receive it or not, take heed or not, transform or not, heal or not. It's all about choice, and they are choosing every day to live their purpose and to be contributions to community. So I thank you, Xavier. I thank you, Brother Yao. I thank you, John Carl. I thank you, Joshua, and I thank you, Asim, for lending your voices and your experiences to this sacred space today, and we invite you back to continue the journey. I also acknowledge the brothers and Baba Irwin's group. So if you can just come on and just acknowledge who they are, that came and joined the conversation today, because I think it's so beautiful that you were all here and contributed so powerfully along with everyone else. But this is a space that is frequented by a lot of women, not so much as many women, men. Sorry. So if you could, Baba, just tell us who the group is, and then we're going to move to put up our closing slides.
Absolutely. Blessings to all those who hold the mantle of doing the work. I'm joined today with Brother Christopher, Brother Jomo, Brother Avid. There are other brothers in here who are in this circle, but maybe doesn't participate as often. And we gather regularly, at least once a month, for a Black Men's Circle in Brooklyn to explore these specific topics and everything else that comes up. And this has been a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful time to confirm the work that we've been doing, to inspire us as we go into the new year. And all the brothers who are on the panel, you will be hearing from me, just so I can, keep a pulse on what you're doing. And I appreciate you. If you've not been told for the day, let it be known that I'm grateful for your breath. I'm grateful for your work. I'm grateful for your struggle, and I'm grateful for your sacrifice.
Shay. Thank you, Baba. All righty. So, Nigel, we are ready. All right, Brother Yao, if you can start us off with the special offer.
My special offer is for a participant to receive an hour of coaching. Did you want me to give a number, or are
Yes.
you gonna number 14?
All right. So, Nigel, if you could count, and then we can move ahead, and then we'll come back and share and declare who has received the awesome gift from Brother Yao. And here's Brother Yao's contact information. So whoever the winner is, you can be in touch with him so you can follow up and redeem your winnings. And I'm saying redeem because we win stuff and we don't always redeem. All right, somebody hitting it in. All right, Rukia. They dancing and partying over there. So I'm just encouraging you to redeem what you have manifested today. There are no accidents if your name has been called. So if your name has been called, take advantage of what you've received. So please screenshot this or write down the contact information. If you can't get it quick enough, you can be in touch with one of the leaders and Wake Up, and we will connect you with Brother Yao. So moving forward, next special offer is Brother Xavier. And so, Brother Xavier, if you could share what it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the winner, you will receive either a 30-minute coaching session or a $25 gift card. It'll be an Amazon gift card, so you can be able to get whatever it is that you want. So the number is 33. And so the winner will get, again, a complimentary 30-minute coaching session or a $25 Amazon gift card.
Mhm. And I'm biased. I'm like, get the coaching, man. You can buy a shirt, a candle, a sandwich, but there's nothing like coaching by Brother Xavier. I'm just biased. Sorry. Here's Brother Xavier's contact information. So please screenshot or write the information down so that you can be in touch with him if you are the winner in this space, or anybody who wishes to be in contact. Book these brothers for speaking engagements, paid, I might add, bring them in, have them come and do a panel discussion or be a keynote at something that you do. They're powerful brothers and they have lots to offer. So please do capture this information so that number 33, whoever that winner is, can follow up with Brother Xavier for your winnings. All right, moving forward. Thank you. So next we have the special offer by Reverend Asim. So Reverend Asim, can you explain what they will receive, whoever the winner is, and who the winner might be by number? You're muted.
It's there. The 20th participant to arrive in the space will receive a grief healing hoodie. I formulated a quote that's being trademarked right now, and it simply states, "I am on a healing journey, moving towards learning how to live inside my grief. That will be on a hoodie for you. All I need is your size and the preference of color. And we can talk about that online, but you will receive that as my offering.
Awesome. Thank you, Brother Asim. And here's his contact information. Please do screenshot so that you can be in touch. And once again, all of the brothers, we're on Brother Asim right now, Reverend Asim, are prolific, powerful, and can provide supports and services. So please do patronize, please do connect, please do manifest or co-create with them opportunities. We believe in the wake up experience, that we can manifest abundance and ascend by virtue of being here and holding space for not just the participants, but the facilitators as well. So, number 20, get ready, get ready. Let's move forward to the next special offer, which is Brother John Carl's.
Yes, yes, thank you. To the Wake Up Everybody community, the Woo community, I'm offering two participants a complimentary consultation where you will discover your energetic communication. You identify where you put your energy, where your energy, where your attention goes, energy flows. And this consultation will help you to align and flow that energy into the areas you want to, your desires confidently.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Brother John Carl. Moving forward to the contact information, the number 9, number 27, and anyone else, can you screenshot this or write down the information? There's lots of ways to be in touch with John Carl. You're busy, Brother John Carl. You got 3 Instagrams, you got multiple Facebook pages. There's no excuse for folks not to be in touch.
Each one represents a different aspect of myself.
Oh, I know. I know. I'm messing with you. But there's no excuse for any of us not to be able to get in touch with you because there are many ways. So thank you for offering this up so that we can be in touch with you about the winnings and just in general, as I shared earlier. So we're ready to move forward. Brother Joshua, special offer.
Yeah, lucky number 13 will receive. Yep, baby. Go ahead, say it. Will receive complimentary experiential coaching. Experiential coaching is not just sitting and talking. It's multidimensional, and you will get a chance to experience your preferred learning style in a coaching session.
Beautiful. All right, moving forward, number lucky 13. And here's the contact information for Brother Joshua S. Lee. So please screenshot, write it down, be in touch. Once again, we can utilize the brilliance of Brother Joshua and others in the different spaces that we're in. All right, so given a little bit of time. All right, here we go. So before we go here, can we declare who the winners are? Do you have that, Nigel? If you can come off mute and let us know.
People out there rolling dice and taking bones.
Pulling cards, right? Okay, so for Frank Love's offer, we have Jacqueline as the winner. So Jacqueline, are you able to come off of mute?
Yes, I am, and I accept. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Xavier, for your special offer, we have selected Kojo as the winner. So Kojo, are you able to come off of mute and accept?
Peace to the family. Excitingly and humbly accept.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. All righty. Moving on to Asim. Number 20 in the space today was Kaisha. So Kaisha, can you come off of mute and accept?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, number 13, that was, whose number was 13?
Which one of the leaders you mean?
Which one of the leaders, right, selected number 13? Joshua. Okay, so for Joshua's offer, Jomo has been selected as the winner. Jomo, can you come off of line? off of mute, I'm sorry, and accept, because we're not going to force anything on you.
Accept. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. And then finally, for John Carl's offer, number 9 and number 27, we have selected Gina and Rukia. So Gina, do you accept the offer? Can you come off of mute?
I do accept. I'm sorry, I'm at work, so I can't go on camera. But I am so excited. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Rukia, are you still in the space?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Do you accept?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. So there we have it. Those that were selected, you can screenshot. If you have not screenshotted, you can drop it in the chat and we'll send it to you. And we'll also make sure that the facilitators have your information. So Shawnee, you can go forward.
Yay! I love the winners. The winners get your
Yes, awesome.
redeem. All right, so love offerings. So I'm in love with these brothers because there's nothing you can do about it. I can declare and share and feel. And as a result, heal. I love what John said about love being the conduit for all of that. So the love offerings are a way for this community to demonstrate your appreciation for all that they have shared here today, your appreciation for the level of transparency and brilliance and experience, and them searching for the answer so that you might thrive and experience a deeper level of aliveness in your life. So please do share reciprocally in the form of dollars and cents. In this space, money represents my own natural energy yield. And so we ask that you share your energy in the form of money so that these brothers can be blessed. They will share it amongst themselves. And I know this community can do it because I've watched you do it before. Thank you, Baba Irwin. Thank you, Danny, for starting us off this morning. You've already sent in your love offerings, and we invite the other members of the community to do the same. It's not a demand, it's an invitation. It's not a command, it's an invitation. It's not an expectation, it's an invitation. And if you don't have it, cool. If you do, please do share. But what you can do if you don't have the money, you can share the money and the evidence of your growth and transformation through your conversations that you have with others about brothers, or if you are a brother, just continuing to advance the love in the community. So you can do this via Zelle and QuickPay at soulleadershipdevelopment@gmail.com, or you can use Cash App $ Spirit of a Woman. The code is $. I said $. I'm gonna put that in there too. $ and hashtag day 223. And it adds up to a 7. I'm like, yes. Y'all are vibing on the energy and vibration of 7. So please do utilize one of these conduits so that you can share with the brothers and they can thrive, because you blessing them blesses all of the communities that they are connected to and the networks that are blessed by their presence. Thank you in advance for your shares, and I see them rolling in. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for your generosity. Let's move forward. Tomorrow, Sister Dr. G. Wali will be in the space, and her subject will be What You Don't Know About Your Heart May Be Killing Your Life, parts 1 and 2. He's an awesome healer. Somebody is unmuted. Can the team? Oh, I got it. All right, I'm multitasking here. So once again, What You Don't Know About Your Heart May Be Killing Your Life, parts 1 and 2. So she's going to be here tomorrow, and then also she'll be back on Thursday to wrap it up. And this sister is so talented, has so many different things to offer. So you don't want to miss that. If you were new to this space today, put in the chat that you were new. I know there were brothers in here and sisters in here for the first time. We also say in Wake Up, listen, no hit it and quit it. We didn't get a chance to explore sexuality and all of the intimacy as we wanted to today. That'll be next month. We're going to have a whole week on sexual expression and intimacy, and we're going to invite these brothers back too to be in conversation about that subject matter when they come back for part 3. But please do not hit and quit the Wake Up Everybody community. Come on back so that you can experience the light, the love, and the ascended energy that is present here. So let's move forward. Schedule for Wake Up is 5 days a week. We meet Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday from 7 to 8:30. We meet on Wednesday, Monday and Wednesday from 7 to 7:30 a.m. Goodbye, Xavier. Thank you. Much love to you, brother. Thank you for being here. Y'all say goodbye to our brother. And anytime you come, whether it's a short day, 30 minutes, or a more lengthy day, 90 minutes like today, it's just packed full of power and punch, and you're going to grow and transform. So please do join us. And we have the information to register to be part of this community. So let's move to the next slide. And then we're going to move to the love shower. So thank you. Stay in touch. As I said, please screenshot this so that you can register for Wake Up week by week. It's always the same bit.ly/wake up movement, or Facebook. Join our Facebook page, bit.ly/woo community, or just type in Wake Up Everybody virtual community and you'll find it, and ask to join and we'll bring you in. Instagram @Wake Up Series, YouTube bit.ly/woo on YouTube, and email info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. Stay in touch. You can be in touch virtually. I love virtual space and live space equally because it's about energy, not necessarily all the time physical presence. So let's move to our love shower. In the Wake Up space, how we show love is we ask everyone to unmute and pour love into the leaders that have been in this space. So let's go to gallery view, and let me know if you can see everybody, because we had the brother spotlighted. I want to make sure that you can see every single body in the space. So Christopher, I see you. All right, excellent. So please do unmute, and we pour love by just sharing affirmations, cheering, laughing, calling names out, whatever we want. Good names, I
So
might.
much love for
We
you.
love you,
Thank you,
King.
Love you,
brothers.
love you,
Love
love
you,
Thank you
you.
King.
so
One
much.
Thank
love.
you.
Little
Thank you.
conversation.
Respect you,
Thank you
King.
for being
Wonderful.
vulnerable
Love,
and
love,
letting
love.
us
This is
get
so
it
awesome.
into
We
your
need
ear.
it. We want it.
Thank
We
you.
need it from you so much.
Love,
Yes.
love,
Thank you.
love.
Thank you for who
Thank you,
you
Mother.
are.
God,
Thank you
that was
for
wonderful
our
conversation. It's good to hear brothers who
Thank you so much. I love
to
you,
talk.
Dad.
My
Thank you
goodness.
so much,
Thank you
Yomo.
so much,
Thank you so
everyone.
much, Kojo, for
We
being in the
love
space. Thank you,
I am really moved.
Baba,
Amen.
our voices. Thank
y'all.
you so
We
much.
love
I
y'all.
can't wait till we can all have a drum
Thank
circle and
you,
dance.
everybody. Love you.
Thank you,
For
John
the
Carl.
brothers
Thank
that
you,
was together, thank
Joshua.
y'all.
Much love for being so awesome.
Thank
Awesome, Joshua.
we love
Aren't you,
y'all.
Joshua?
We love you, Shawnee.
Thank you
Great,
so
great
much. Thank you,
admin
Shawnee.
team.
Thank you,
We
admin
love
team.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We
Thank
love
you. Thank you,
we love
Naja.
y'all.
Thank
We
you,
love
Frank.
y'all. Y'all
Luke.
rock. Y'all are the
Men are so
bomb. Yes,
awesome.
brothers, we love you.
Thank you. Thank you for the
Come
brothers
back,
that left
family.
as well.
Brothers, we need y'all to come
Peace,
back
love,
and
and
join us. Don't
namaste.
thank you. We
Much
need
manifestation and
come back.
abundance to you.
Love y'all. Please come
Thank
back and join
you.
us. We
Thank
miss
you.
y'all. We
Love, love,
need brothers
love.
in our group.
Yes.
Register
We need it.
a
We
weekly
love it.
basis.
It's desired and
That's
wanted.
right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
do.
Your voice
Good to
matters.
wake up. See some beautiful Black brothers. Yes, it was. I was like,
Thank
oh,
you, family.
yes.
Love you.
Hallelujah. Black
Thank
brothers
you.
gonna be on the day. Love that.
Yes, the whole
We love
vibe,
y'all,
y'all. The
brother.
whole vibe. I'm gonna take it with me
Yes,
to the day.
y'all are.
The soul is in me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's good to see
Thank
some
you,
beautiful Black
facilitators, for
energy.
being
Black
here.
brothers.
Thank you all so much.
Yes,
Thank
y'all
you
are.
for your support.
Powerful. Thank you, Barbara, for giving your brothers. You were awesome too.
Yes.
Thank you for
You're all so
shares.
different and
Awesome.
so just
Y'all brothers.
one. It's so
Love y'all.
beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, y'all were awesome. Thank
And I
y'all
made
so
it rain
much.
for y'all. Everybody
Don't
make
forget
it
to give
rain. Go
y'all.
to the Cash App, go to the
Make it
Zelle, make
rain.
it
That's right,
rain for these
Stacey. Let's
brothers,
make it
okay?
rain.
Oh,
Make it
yes.
rain. That's right.
Thank you so much.
Y'all have a great
I feel
peace
like
and
we need a
blessing.
drum. Nobody got a drum? Somebody bang a drum out real quick. Thank you. Peace,
Stacey, you are
love,
too
and namaste.
much.
And I said I
You're so
offered a
messy.
free healing session for all of you. Please email me, please. Pranic healing, clear the energy, chakras, and your auras. Yes, for all the brothers on the line. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Peace, love, and
Love y'all.
namaste.
So we leave the space when we get to 19, so y'all can hover and hover.
Yes, yes,
Not
yes.
happening today.
Yeah,
Yes. So I'll take a second and type it in the chat again. YogishaStacy@gmail. Hit me up for your free session for today.
All right, we're at 20. One more. Who's willing to leave so we can be at 90?
I love you, everybody.
I'm leaving right now.
Asim,
Don't leave.
information.